Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Warhammer Fantasy Battle 3rd Edition, and we're going to discuss Undead rules. This is going to be the setup. Little farmstead in the Empire. Nice little place the guy lives at here, and he's had some creepy neighbors move in. The neighbors claim that they're just Halloween enthusiasts with a knack for decorating. The reason the young female goes wandering around in the dead of the night is because of insomnia, but he's not listening to it. So this is the overhead view of where the game is going to take place, and he is going to attempt to get some help in driving out his creepy neighbors. So here's a flyby overhead. This little river is not really going to be in the battle too much. It's off to the side. He's got a walled compound there. Some hay bales in the field. I took the under thing out because it was reflecting. So we got a forest back there. Over here we got another forest. Back here we have a walled compound where the monastery used to be with a small forest inside. And so there it is, and here comes the troops ready to set things right and save the citizen. The Undead were one of the first of what I would call modern armies because you got this wonderful multi-pose plastic kit, which was very affordable back in the day. Many people bought these to play the game, so Undead armies were very prevalent. But they were also difficult to play because there were so many special rules that affected the Undead and that gave them advantages and disadvantages. So I think it was more of an expert level army. Now here's one of the most important ones. A unit pushed back and followed up by a unit that causes fear is automatically routed, and of course the Undead cause fear. That's really powerful. However, the only defense that I can think of is to go into square. As you can see in the rules, it says the square's greatest asset. It cannot be pushed back. So as last resort you can go into square. The other thing is skeletons are much cheaper to summon during the game than they are to buy with points before the game. So you have two options. The first level spell is Summon Skeletons. It says skeletons appear in a single unit. I interpret that to mean that skeletons are added to an existing unit equipped as that unit, and then Summon Skeleton Horde, it says summons a unit, and it clarifies that that unit has a champion and that unit is equipped. Some people play these interchangeably. I do not. Here's going to be the Empire army that is built to smash Undead. First of all, Templar Knights, they're really tough, have a fantastic armor save. So they're going to lead the charge. The general is going to bring along his army standard bearer with him, who's carrying this standard, the amuletic standard. This standard is going to make his Templar Knights immune to magic for the most part. And it also is going to cause instability test at -2 on any Undead unit upon contact. In addition to that, he's going to carry an Exorcism Blade, which gives him double strength, and the leader of his other knight units is going to carry this too. Now, this is the creepy neighbor right here. Now, you know, he shows up for the battle, he's naked, he's half drunk, and he's got this girl hanging out with him. But don't let looks deceive you. That girl's a level 5 vampire that's also his bodyguard. And even the lowest, least powerful vampire in Warhammer is a formidable foe. As you can see by this stat line, 4 attacks, high toughness, high strength. Really a nasty thing. But she's also the army standard bearer. The Undead army standard is allowed to have 2 abilities. They're going to take Talismanic Standard, which allows them to put their magic points into it and cast spells from the standard. And they're going to take the Battle Banner, which adds D6 to combat resolution, which means that the unit they're attached to is going to be pushing people around. Interestingly, vampires, no matter how powerful they are, all come with 40 magic points. So between the level 20 Necromancer and the Vampire, that's 140 magic points that they're going to have to spend. She's also taking a Hellhound Blade, which means she doesn't have to worry about any saving throws. So those knights just meet a can opener, just like that. Now, you have to roll for your spells, and this is where things can go a little crazy. Look at the very bottom spell on this, Wind of Death. If you're playing against a level 25 Necromancer and they have access to the Wind of Death spell, they get lucky and they roll that, you don't have to play the game. Don't even bother. Don't even get in your car. Don't even go to meet up. Don't even buy the miniatures. Don't even paint them. The Undead win, you've lost if you're playing humans. It's over. And I think that level of extremes became more common as time went on. It was, paper, rock, scissors. So let's see what spells we got. The Vampire got Flight, worthless. Summon Champion, not going to use it. And Hand of Death. She cast it on herself before the battle. Now she doesn't have to roll to wound either. So her spells are pretty much useless. But she's got her points in this in the standard, and the necromancer can use them. She also has 2 scrolls that she can use. The main necromancer got summon champion. He's not going to use it. Destroy undead. Why? Why would he want to destroy his own stuff? Part water? No thanks. Don't want that. Hand of death? Yeah, like he's going to go out and start fighting. He's naked. And then immune from poison? Nah, he don't care about that. The only useful spell he got at first level was summon skeletons. Thankfully, he did get that. At level 2, he got stop instability. Very good. He's going to cast that before the battle on his cavalry unit. Summon hero? Not going to use it. Extend control? It might be useful. At level 3, his spells are annihilate undead. I can't imagine why he would want to annihilate his own troops. He also got life and death. Not going to use that. But he did get summon skeleton horde, which allows him to summon an entire unit. So those are the spells out of a total of, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15 spells. I count 4 that are useful. Deploying slowest to fastest, Empire goes first. Over here, we're going to have Reichsguard because they're heavy armor. They're going to move slow. This is the unit entry, and I'm going to be using Grenadier miniatures for that. Back here, the Undead are going to deploy 3 catapults. Now these have the optional skull ammunition, which causes panic tests upon being hit. Over here, you can see the 2 units kind of facing off against each other a little bit. Next is going to be the Empire main infantry line. Over here we have a unit of 30 pike drawn from the soldiers with the pike option right here. Next to it we're going to have a unit of 32 halberdiers. This is one of the required units to take for the Empire army. As you can see, you have to take a minimum of 20. That unit contains 32. Again, full gear with both of those. And this is what those 2 units look like. Over here we have another matching pike unit of 30 back here. Now, these are pretty good blocks to push people around because the pike get lots of attacks, and again, they're drawn from the soldiers selection. So that's a nice solid battle line right there. Next, we have the crossbow over here, which is another required minimum troop. They're going to be in skirmish formation, and they're going to try to take some positions into the behind the barricades there. So now we're going to have the Undead drop their movement 4 troops down, and there's a lot of them. So let's look over here. We have a block of 30 ghouls with the standard, and there they are. They have their own special rules where if they are pushed back, they must rout. However, they can rally, which is strange. But I don't particularly like these troops, but I took them because we're exploring the Undead. Next up, we've got a unit of 20 zombies. Now these guys might rout. They get to at least take a test. They could possibly not rout, but they cannot rally if they do rout. So you have to kind of keep these rules straight, and you have to look them up in the main rule book. So here they are, the ghouls on the right and the zombies next to them. Next up, we have the big guy right here. This unit of skeletons. The required minimum is 20. The unit contains 22. Over here is the skeletons with 2-handed weapons. Again, this is a required minimum. That unit has, I think, like 12 or 14. I think it's 14 right now. And this model is going to be considered 16 skeletons because it takes the footprint up of 16 skeletons, even though it's kind of this elaborate thing. So there you have it. Over here we have some crossbows. Taking up position behind the wall. If they can advance and garrison the wall, they could sort of pepper some shots in. Then they might be able to deny access to the wall. So here they are, a skeleton crossbow is just part of the regular unit. There they are deployed next to the catapults. And here is the look at the Empire line. And there it is, the 2 lines getting ready to clash. So we're ready for the next drop, which is movement 5, which is the Undead Plague Cart back here. Now that thing will give a +1 to any instability test for anything within 12 inches. So it's pretty useful, but it's not very good in combat at all. There it is. You can see it's got 1 rider, and that's pretty much it. So the next drop we're going to have is the movement 6 Empire troops, and this is going to be some pretty powerful troops for them. They're going to be dropping all of their heavy cavalry next, and so we've got a unit of knights over here, pretty solid. right here they have the full kit. Over here you have the Templars with their magic banner, and the Army Standard Bearer and the General are there as well. There's nothing in the Undead Army that this unit can't destroy except for the Vampire perhaps. So there it is. And over here we've got a unit of light cavalry, and in front of them we've got a unit of medium cavalry. So there's a light cavalry, and there's, well, it's actually, I guess, just a variation of heavy cavalry. It's knights, but they're not elite. They do not have the barding, so they're a little bit weaker. Over here, the Undead are going to drop their cavalry, which is more or less a medium cavalry, light armor and shield, but they have a special ability that they ignore most terrain. They can just pass right through it. So here they are, eyeing the battle line of the Empire, and this is their unit entry. And this is another unit that you can actually summon during the game. So back here, the last and fastest thing is the Undead Carrion. They're going to be flying at a speed of 12 at the current time. Their objective is to fly back here and make sure that no one gets a chance to rally and keeps the guys running from rallying up, keep them off the table. So there they are. So let's begin with Empire turn 1. So here's the beginning, and here's the move right here. Pretty much a full court press. We got very powerful lines moving forward. There's a tough choice to be made regarding this unit, because there's a temptation to just take that thing and ram it straight ahead at the Necromancer. But with that banner and with his extraordinarily tough girlfriend, that's going to be really tough. So I think it's best to use it to clean off all the support and then hit that unit with the pike units also and take it out. So we're going to take out everything else but them. And here's the reserves, troops moving to garrison some defense. And you notice the line from the Undead side, they're trying to avoid the sun. Wonder why that is. During the Undead turn, the only thing they move is they advance their crossbowmen up here. The rest of the line is going to just sort of wait a minute to build their strength up. Here's a crossbowman approaching the wall where they're going to try to take up some garrison position. During the shooting phase, the catapults all struck and hit 3 units, causing panic tests. But all units passed their panic tests. However, there was first casualties inflicted. Now, during the magic phase, this entire unit was created by a scroll of Summon Skeleton Horde cast by the Vampire. She just read a scroll, boom. And they got really lucky, and I think they got 20-some figures right there. No standard, but they have 20-some figures and a champion, which they put in front of them as a little buffer. Over here, they dumped 27 magic points into 96 additional figures added to this unit. Got really lucky, and they added 37 to the existing 14. So that unit has become ridiculously large of two-handed weapon guys. Here's what it looks like now. So that's a huge block of skeletons now, plus you got another one up front there, but the Templars should be able to disperse them easily with their banner. So now we're on to the Empire turn 2. So here's what the moves are going to look like. They're generally just surging forward, and that's the reserve moves. They don't have any shooting, they don't have any magic. They're just going to line up. Over here, this cavalry unit is prepared to take the charge from the Undead skeletons, because their armor should be able to hold them back. So they're really nicely connected together, supporting. Over here they're approaching the wall. This is sort of what it's going to look like from the monastery, and this is from the little farmstead there. So yeah, they're getting ready for a big clash here in the center. We're going to have to see how this works out. Okay, so let's look at the Undead turn. Here's the beginning of their turn. Here are their moves. A lot of stuff happening. This gigantic unit is going to square up on the knights, and they're going to become a giant sink for them. Over here, the newly created unit charges, hoping to get a cheap victory by failed fear test, and they pass thanks to the general being nearby. So here's what that looks like. A bunch of skeletons attacking pikemen. They have no real chance of hurting them. Over here, this cavalry unit charged the knights. They failed their fear test, turned and fled. This is catastrophic. The entire right flank of the line is now completely opened up. The cavalry is unformed. They didn't have enough movement to reach another unit. That marker indicates that they have the stop instability spell on them, so that their very first instability check will be ignored. Then things got much worse. During the shooting phase, there was a errant stone skull-throwing catapult here that landed on the Templars, killing one. But they were required to take a panic test by getting hit by the skull. They rolled an 11. I do not believe this counts as magic, so I did not think that the banner could save them. So they are going to flee. Now, when a unit flees, they discard their banners. In the combat phase, as expected, the pikemen won, although they took a casualty. However, thanks to that plague cart, the skeletons rolled a 5, which became a 6, and all their casualties came back. So then things got worse, because using the scroll, the vampire summoned a unit of 11 skeleton cavalry, and the necromancer cast Stop Instability on the gigantic juggernaut unit, leading to the Empire turn. The routers have to be moved first. They're clinging to the edge of the table. So those units are going to have one last chance to come back. Over here, this unit of pike is going to charge the ghouls. And then this unit of halberdiers is going to charge the zombies. They both have to take fear tests. They both pass and charge in. In the initial round of combat, they rolled devastatingly well, absolutely crushing both of those units, breaking them, which is pretty amazing. Over here, this cavalry unit is close enough and is now going to attempt to charge the catapults and take them out of action. And naturally, they fail. You're seeing a pattern here. All 3 heavy cavalry units have completely failed their leadership tests and become susceptible to the fear. Maybe it's their horses not wanting to behave. I don't know. But they have absolutely let down the army. And the Reichsguard tackle the crossbowmen across the wall. So during combat, the pikemen demolished the ghouls. They did enough to win the round of combat. The ghouls automatically break and flee. They got a free hack with all those hits. They skewered them in the back, and off they scampered. They did not pursue. Over the halberdiers next door hit the zombies and just rolled so phenomenally well that they shattered the zombies completely. The zombies failed their break test, and they took off running. And in the free hack, they just wiped them out. Also, this unit of pike continues to push the unit of summoned skeletons back directly into the face of the necromancer. Last turn, all of the casualties recovered because of the instability roll. So we'll see what happens this turn. Right now, they're doing pretty good. Over here, the Reichsguard hit the crossbowmen at the wall, and they managed to drive them back, and their instability was a failure. So here's them pushed back over the wall. Here you can see massive casualties caused by the pikemen. Just unbelievable die rolls. And they rolled a 6, and all of them came back again. And this is what the pike and halberdiers look like after clearing out the ghouls and zombies. So the infantry is really doing a good job of holding the battle line together. I thought it was a complete and total loss, but they may be able to surround the necromancer. And here is the pike unit in the front. And notice the halberdiers have broken through. They have now flanked the necromancer's unit, possibly able to come around to the rear. So I'm actually amazed. And at the end of the turn, both units of knights rallied. So they're going to slowly make their way back towards the battle line. Undead turn is pretty simple. They're going to do a couple of adjustments, nothing really dramatic. This unit right here is going to try to square off against the pikemen, and the carrion flyers are going to continue to approach the crossbowmen. So this unit is going to go from something facing this direction with the pikemen to their side to doing a right face expand frontage, and what's going to end up happening is they look like this. They're squared off against the pike. They're ignoring the unit on their side. This is kind of a risky move, but they're going to do it. And back here, I forgot to mention, the halberdiers had managed to hit the plague cart with their follow through, and they'll quickly dispatch of that this turn easily. So this is just an adjustment squaring up. That huge juggernaut unit is actually too big and unwieldy. This is what it looks like. It has its no instability marker line next to it, but that's sort of what the top looks like. There's not a lot of combats or anything this turn. The skeleton crossbowmen finally fade away from their instability, but the pikemen managed to drive their foes all the way back directly into the necromancer. There's just a few left. They failed their instability test this time and took additional casualties, so they're kind of suffering. However, in the magic phase, take a look at the red circle right there. Another unit of 28 skeletons brought to you by the necromancer and his staff of infinite spells, and here they are. So that's going to pretty much blunt the halberdiers' breakthrough and surrounding efforts. Now they've got a new foe to deal with. And on top of that, the ghouls managed to rally, so they shall be returning to the battle. So here are the Empire moves for the turn. We're getting pretty late and they have to do something drastic. So the cavalry is returning. Over here, this unit pulls back to stay away from those. The Reichsguard take the wall to defend, and the cavalry unit does finally charge against the catapults. The halberdiers fail their fear, they can't charge, and this pike unit decides to square up on the undead cavalry. So at the very top left, you can see the cavalry has hit the catapults, putting them out of harm's way from the giant juggernaut unit. Here is the pike unit squared off on the cavalry. If you remember, the undead cavalry squared off last turn, and the returning knights are moving into position to threaten the cavalry. This is an interesting gamble for the undead. Not a lot of combat here. Mostly it's just this one right here where the pikemen finished off the skeletons, and finally they are in contact with the vampires unit. So let's look at the undead moves here. They're pretty straightforward. They're going to charge a couple of times, and yeah, this is going to be a critical turn, believe it or not, because a couple of things happened during the charge. That unit passed, so now they've got catapults to their front, cavalry to their right, but they actually have a really good chance of doing enough damage because these skeletons are extremely weak. That's a good positive thing. They might be able to cause instability on both units. That's good. Over here, the skeletons charge the halberdiers. They pass their fear test. They have an advantage. They should be able to wipe out those skeletons pretty easily. Where it's not so good is right here. This pike unit failed their fear test and took off running. They can't outrun cavalry. They were caught. They're going to be slaughtered. And then that's going to cause panic tests at the beginning of the turn for all the other units. It looks like the entire infantry center is in severe problems of being completely surrounded and wiped out. So here's the fight that took place. You can see the pikemen at the very bottom center fleeing, the cavalry chasing them down. Okay, against the vampire, the pike unit rolled 11 hits, but only got 2 wounds. Against the skeletons, that wasn't enough. They needed to roll up a lot of combat resolution. They didn't do it, so they failed combat because of fear-causing enemy. They automatically broke. The vampire girl rolled 4 dice, killed 4 people. That was a long shot, and you know it was just a gamble. The pike should have been able to stand up to that cavalry and butcher them. So the undead took a huge risk by charging the pike with the cavalry, knowing the only hope they had was to fail fear test. They panned out. And then the pike totally, they got 11 hits. I thought they were going to push that unit of vampires and everything back, but they just completely only got 2 wounds. One of them saved. They're done. The halberdiers in the back completely whiffed their die rolls. Totally. Lost the round of combat, got pushed back, automatically broke. So right now, the entire infantry is destroyed. So we're going to call that a game. The creepy neighbor has completely wiped out almost the entire infantry force, except for the skirmishers and a couple of Reichsguard. He owns the center of the battle. He's still probably got 80 magic points left. He can quadruple his numbers. So undead win. It's an interesting army to play with or against. So hope you enjoyed this and learned a little something. Thanks for watching.